My stepson's voice echoed through the living room like a slap in the face. "You're not our real dad. We only obey our biological parents." I was standing at the kitchen door, holding a grocery bag I had just brought from the market. Inside it were his favorite snacks, the expensive hair products my stepdaughter had asked for, and that special cheese neither of them ate but their mom liked. $340 spent that Saturday afternoon. Once again. The 17-year-old boy looked at me with that challenging expression I had been ignoring for months. His 15-year-old sister giggled quietly on the couch, eyes glued to the phone I had bought her for Christmas. A brand new iPhone, because all her friends have one. This wasn't new. For the past 3 years, since I married their mother Jennifer, I had been swallowing disrespect after disrespect. But something about that moment was different. Maybe it was the tone of his voice. Maybe it was the mocking smile. Or maybe it was simply the fact that I had just paid his programming course tuition, $1,200, earlier that morning. "Repeat what you just said," I asked, carefully setting the grocery bag on the table. "You heard me right, Daniel." He crossed his arms. "You're not our dad. Our dad is Robert. And he said we don't have to obey you." Ah, Robert. Jennifer's ex-husband, the biological father who showed up once a month to take the kids for a quick lunch and then disappeared again. The man who paid $400 in child support, which barely covered a week's worth of food, while I was paying for private school, clothes, electronics, internet, extracurricular classes, and everything else they wanted. "And what exactly did your dad say?" My voice came out calmer than I expected. "That you're just our mom's husband. That we don't have to follow your stupid rules." The girl finally lifted her eyes from her phone, backing her brother. "He said you're trying to replace him, but you'll never succeed." I took a deep breath. For 3 years, I had tried to be a good stepdad. I hadn't forced my presence. I hadn't demanded they call me dad. I respected their space, respected the memory of their relationship with Robert. I paid for everything without complaint because I thought it was my duty as Jennifer's husband and as a responsible adult in that house. But I had never been respected in return. "All right," I said, taking my phone out of my pocket. "If you only obey your biological parents, then your biological father will have to take responsibility for you." The boy frowned. "What do you mean by that?" I was already dialing. The phone rang 3 times before Robert answered, his lazy voice as if he were watching TV. "Daniel? What's up?" "Robert, I need you to come get your kids. Now." Silence on the other end. I could hear a football game in the background. "What do you mean get them? It's Saturday, man. It's not my weekend." "I don't care." They made it clear they only obey their biological parents. So now their biological father will have to take care of them. "I'll be waiting here in an hour." "Wait, you can't just." I hung up. My stepchildren were now looking at me with a different expression. No longer mockery. It was confusion, with a touch of something that might have been fear. "You're joking, right?" the girl said, getting up from the couch. "I'm not joking." I went back to the kitchen and started putting away the groceries mechanically. "You want to follow only your biological parents' rules? Fine. Then go live with your biological dad. Mom won't allow it." The boy had lost all his arrogance. "Your mom is on call until 11 at night. When she gets home, we'll have a very serious talk about this." I wasn't bluffing. At that exact moment, as I placed the eggs in the fridge, an absurd clarity washed over me. I had been an idiot. Not for helping, not for trying to create a healthy family environment, but for accepting being treated like a doormat. For accepting that my money was welcome, but my authority was not. For letting Robert poison their minds while I paid the bills. I went to the router and turned off the internet. Then I went to the circuit breaker and cut the power to their rooms. When I returned to the living room, both were standing, phones in hand, staring at signal-less screens. "What did you do?" the girl shouted. "Internet, phones, room electricity, all of this I pay for. If you only obey your biological parents, then only your biological parents can provide these things. You're crazy." The boy lunged at me but stopped when I didn't step back. "No, I was crazy before. Crazy for thinking that one day you'd respect me. Crazy for believing I was building a family." My voice cracked on that last word, and I didn't try to hide it. For the first time in 3 years, I let them see how much it all hurt me. I wasn't angry at that moment. It was a deep, heavy sadness, the kind that makes your chest ache physically. I had tried so hard. Attended every school performance. Helped with math homework until midnight. Took them to medical appointments, friends' birthday parties, the mall when they wanted to go out. Never complained when they made a mess. Never raised my voice, even when they deserved it. And all I got in return was disdain. Robert arrived 40 minutes later, honking outside like he was picking up a delivery. I opened the door and gestured for the two of them to go. Take what you need for a few days. You'll stay with your dad until your mom and I decide what to do. I'm not going. The girl crossed her arms. Then I'll carry you to the car. I was no longer negotiating. Something in my tone must have made it clear I was serious because 5 minutes later, they were stuffing clothes into backpacks, cursing softly, but obeying. When they passed me at the door, neither looked me in the eyes. Robert got out of the car when he saw I was really sending the kids. He was a man in his 40s, beer belly, wearing a stained shirt. Man, what's going on here? Your kids said they only obey their biological parents. So now it's your turn to be a real dad. Good luck. I closed the door before he could respond. The house was silent. A silence I hadn't felt in 3 years. I sat on the couch and let all that weight fall on me. Had I overdone it? Would Jennifer hate me? Had I destroyed everything? But then I remembered that phrase, "You're not our real dad." No, I hadn't overdone it. I had just finally set a boundary. And if that meant the end of my marriage, so be it. Because I could no longer live being invisible in my own home. I grabbed my laptop and started doing something I should have done a long time ago, a spreadsheet. I listed every cent I had spent on those kids over the past 3 years. School, clothes, electronics, food, classes, outings, gifts, household bills. Then I compared it to the ridiculous amount Robert paid in child support. The numbers were shocking even to me. Over $120,000 in 3 years. And that didn't even include the time, patience, or emotional effort. By the time I finished the spreadsheet, it was 8 p.m. Jennifer would be home in 3 hours. I needed to be ready for that conversation. I needed proof, arguments, cold logic. Because I knew she would arrive with a broken heart, defending the kids, without understanding what had really happened. But I also had something else, the recordings. I had started recording interactions with my stepchildren about 2 months ago, after the boy cursed at me and then denied it in front of Jennifer. It wasn't something I was proud of doing, but it was necessary. I needed proof. I sat there, in the dark living room, waiting. And for the first time in a long time, I felt light. Like I had taken a backpack full of rocks off my shoulders. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. You won't believe what happened when Jennifer got home and discovered everything. The sound of the key turning in the lock made me get up from the couch. It was 10:40. Jennifer had left her shift earlier. My heart raced, but I kept a neutral expression as she walked in. She was still in her uniform, the hospital badge hanging around her neck, her face tired from 12 hours of caring for patients. But the moment she saw me sitting there in the dark, with only the light of the laptop illuminating my face, she knew something was terribly wrong. "Where are the kids?" was the first thing out of her mouth. "With Robert." Jennifer dropped her bag on the floor. "What? Why? What happened?" "Sit." I pointed to the armchair in front of me. "We need to talk." "Daniel, tell me where." "Jennifer, sit." My voice came out firmer than I intended, and she blinked, surprised. In 3 years, I had never used that tone with her. She sat down, her hands trembling slightly. I turned the laptop toward her and pressed play on the first recording. Her son's voice filled the room. "My dad said you're an idiot, Daniel. Said you pay for everything because you're just a sucker. A real man doesn't leave a woman with a kid hanging on him like this." In the recording, I said nothing. I just kept driving. It was from the day I took the boy to his programming course. "He said you have no authority here. That we don't have to respect you because you're not our dad." Jennifer went pale. I paused and played the second recording. This time, it was the daughter. "Stop trying to control my life. You're nobody to me. I hate you." I hate that my mom married you. That one had been recorded last week when I asked her to wash her own dishes after dinner. A simple task, which resulted in 15 minutes of screaming and insults. I played 3 more recordings. Then 2 more. Jennifer was crying before halfway through, her hands covering her face. When I finished, the silence in the room was deafening. I didn't realize it was this bad, she whispered. Yes, you did. My voice came out without anger, just tired. You just chose to ignore it. Because it was easier to pretend everything was fine than to confront your kids. That's not fair, Daniel. I work 12 hours a day. I work 10 hours a day at the office, then I come home and work another 3 or 4 helping with homework, making food, taking them wherever they want. I turned the laptop again and showed her the spreadsheet. Look at this. Her eyes scanned the numbers, and with each line she read, she grew paler. Private school, $45,000. Clothes and shoes, $18,000. Electronics, $12,000. Extracurricular courses, $22,000. The list went on relentless, until it reached the total. $123,000, I said. In 3 years. And do you know how much Robert paid in the same period? $14,400. $400 a month in child support, barely covering the grocery bill. Jennifer opened her mouth, but nothing came out. And I never complained about it. Never threw it in your face. Because I thought I was building a family. I thought one day they would see me as someone who cared, even if I wasn't their biological father. My voice broke. But today, after I paid another $1,200 for his course, your son looked me in the face and said he only obeys his biological parents. That Robert said he doesn't have to respect me. Oh my God. Jennifer stood up and started pacing back and forth. I'm going to kill Robert. I'm going to ruin him. It's not just his fault, Jennifer. She stopped and looked at me with those red, tearful eyes. It's your fault too. Because every time they disrespected me in front of you, you did nothing. You made excuses. They're going through a phase. It's hard for them to accept a new dad. You need to be patient. But it was never about being patient with me, it was about protecting them from the consequences. I just didn't want them to hate me, she whispered, and at that moment I saw the raw truth. Jennifer was so afraid of losing her children's love that she was willing to sacrifice their respect for me, for the marriage, for everything. And now? I asked. Do you think they truly love you? Or have they just learned that they can manipulate you? That was a low blow, I knew. But it was necessary. Jennifer needed to wake up. She sat down again, more tears streaming down her face. What do you want me to do? I want you to choose. Either you stand by me, set real boundaries, and we rebuild this family with respect. Or you continue protecting them from everything, and I leave. The silence that followed was the longest of my life. I could see the conflict in her eyes, the weight of the decision crushing her shoulders. Part of me wanted to back down, say I was exaggerating, that we could find a middle ground. But I knew I couldn't. Not this time. I choose you, she finally said, her voice firm despite the tears. I choose our marriage. And I will do whatever it takes to fix this. Something inside me released. I hadn't realized how tense I had been until that moment. But I couldn't give in to emotion yet. There was still much to be done. Then it has to be done right. No half measures this time. What do you have in mind? I spent the next hour explaining. Jennifer called her mother, Teresa, and asked for the kids to stay there indefinitely. The grandmother, of course, freaked out on the phone, yelling that Jennifer was crazy, that she was choosing a man over her own children. I could hear the yelling even without speakerphone. Mom, stop. Jennifer said with a strength I had never heard before. You don't know half of what happened here. And if you can't support my decision, then at least don't get in the way. She hung up. Jennifer's sister, Michelle, called 10 minutes later with the same speech. Then a cousin. Jennifer's entire family was in an uproar, and all of them blamed me. Let them talk, I said. You know the truth. I know the truth. And the kids know the truth. The next morning, Sunday, Robert showed up at the door at 7 a.m., practically throwing the kids into the house. I'm not a babysitter. He shouted before I could even speak. You can't just dump your problems on me. Our kids, Robert. Not my problems. Our kids. Jennifer appeared behind me, still in pajamas. And you're going to have to start acting like a real dad now. Oh yeah? And who are you to tell me how to be a dad? I'm the mother who raises them alone while you show up once a month and poison their minds against the man who pays for everything you should be paying for. Robert was speechless for a moment. The kids, behind him, watched the scene in shock. They had never seen their mother confront their father like that. The child support you pay is a joke, Jennifer continued. $400 doesn't even cover one of their schools. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to increase the support to $2,000 per month, or I go back to court and request a revision. And this time, I have all the receipts from the past 3 years. You're crazy if you think. I'm not asking for your opinion. And another thing, you will stop speaking ill of Daniel to the kids. Now. Because if I find out you continue doing this, I will cut your visits. You can't do that. Yes, I can. And I will. Because you're not acting in their best interest. You're acting out of ego. It was the first time I saw Robert truly without arguments. He looked at Jennifer as if he was seeing a different person. And maybe he was. The kids will stay at my mother's house until they learn to respect the rules of this house. And the rules include respecting Daniel. Because he is my husband, and he has authority here, like it or not. Robert got in his car and sped off. The kids stood there at the doorway, looking at their mother with a mixture of shock and fear. Mom, the boy began. No, Jennifer raised her hand. You're going to Grandma Teresa's house. And you'll stay there until you understand how unfair you've been. To Daniel and to me. And for the first time, I felt that maybe, just maybe, things could really change. The next 3 days were the quietest of my life. The house felt different without the teenagers. There was no loud music leaking from the rooms, no one leaving dirty dishes in the sink, no yelling over who used whose charger. It was strange, almost uncomfortable, that silence. Jennifer cried every night. I would find her in the kids' room, sitting on the bed, holding an old stuffed bear that belonged to our daughter. My instinct was to console her, to say everything would be okay, but I knew she needed to feel it. She needed to understand the weight of the choices she had made over the years. I miss them, she said on the third night, her voice choked. I know. I sat next to her. But you're doing the right thing. My mom isn't speaking to me anymore. Michelle called today saying I'm a terrible mother, that I'm choosing a man over my own children. You're not choosing between me and them. You're choosing to teach a lesson that should have been taught years ago. I took her hand. And I know it hurts. But it hurts more to raise adults who don't know how to respect anyone. She nodded, wiping her tears. That night, for the first time in weeks, we slept holding each other. On Monday, I went back to work trying to stay focused, but my mind was everywhere. My boss, a 50-year-old man named Richard, noticed my distraction during a meeting. Everything okay at home? He asked after everyone had left the room. I hesitated, but ended up telling him. Richard listened in silence, nodding occasionally. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. I went through something similar 10 years ago. I married a woman with 3 kids. They treated me like garbage, and I accepted it because I thought it was my role to endure. You know what happened. What? They grew up and continued treating me like garbage. Now they're adults, and none of them speak to me. Not even at family gatherings. I'm invisible. He looked me in the eye. You did the right thing, Daniel. Boundaries need to be set early, or they never are. Those words stayed with me all day. That night, when I got home, I found Jennifer in the kitchen making dinner. She was calmer, more centered. There was something different in the air. Robert called, she said without looking at me. He wants to talk. In person. My stomach tightened. When? Tomorrow night. He said he needs to talk to us. That he has something important to say. Do you think he'll try to manipulate us? Probably. Jennifer finally looked at me. But I won't give in this time. No matter what he says. On Tuesday night, Robert showed up. But he was different. He didn't have his usual arrogant posture. His shoulders were slumped, and there were deep dark circles under his eyes. We sat in the living room, the tension like a rope about to snap. I need to apologize, he began, and I almost fell out of my chair. Especially to you, Daniel. Jennifer and I exchanged looks. This wasn't in the script we had imagined. I spent the weekend with the kids at my house. Really this time. Not just lunch and return. And, he ran his hand over his face. Man, I had no idea what they were like. How much work it takes. Robert, Jennifer started, but he raised his hand. Let me finish. Please. He took a deep breath. The boy woke me up at 6 in the morning asking for money for his course. The girl complained about the food I made, the dirty bathroom, everything. They fought over the remote. The boy left his room like a war zone. And when I asked him to clean up, you know what he said? I waited. He said I didn't have authority over him. That he only obeyed his mother. Robert gave a bitter laugh. The irony, right? I spent 3 years filling their heads telling them they didn't have to obey you, and now they think they don't have to obey anyone. Jennifer was silent, absorbing it. I didn't know what to say either. I was an idiot, Robert continued. I was selfish. I was angry because you moved on, Jennifer. I was angry because you found someone who takes care of our children better than I did. And instead of being a man and accepting it, I tried to sabotage. I tried to make them hate you, Daniel, because I was jealous. That completely caught me off guard. Of all the things I expected to hear from Robert, an honest confession was not on the list. You pay for everything I should be paying for, he said, looking at me. You're present when I should be. You go to school performances, help with homework, take them everywhere. And me? I show up once a month, take them for burgers, and think I'm being a dad. Robert, Jennifer had tears in her eyes. I came here to say that I'll increase the child support. Not to $2,000, because I don't earn that much. But I'll raise it to $1,200. That's the most I can do without losing my apartment. And I'll stop talking badly about you, Daniel. I'll apologize to the kids too, for what I did. I didn't know if I completely believed him. Part of me still thought it might be manipulation. But another part saw a genuinely broken man, confronted by his own mediocrity as a father. Why the change? I asked. Honestly. Because Sunday morning, while making breakfast, I found my son crying in the bathroom. Robert's voice softened. I asked what happened, and you know what he said? That he had been an idiot. That you never deserved to be treated that way. That he realized it when he had no internet, no comfort, nothing that you always gave. My heart tightened. I didn't expect that. They're scared, Robert continued. Truly scared for the first time. Because they realized there are consequences. And the girl cried too, Jennifer. She asked me if you still loved her. If you would send her away forever. Jennifer covered her face with her hands, sobbing. I put my hand on her back, trying to be strong for both of them. I told them they need to apologize. For real. Not those fake apologies you give just to end a fight. I said they need to show they've changed. Robert stood. And I also need to show I've changed. So I'm here, doing my part. After he left, Jennifer and I sat in silence for a long time. I didn't know how to process what had just happened. Would it be real? Would it last? What do you think? Jennifer finally asked. I think he's being sincere. But the real proof will be if he keeps his word. That night, Teresa called. The conversation was tense at first, but gradually the grandmother opened up. She admitted she had noticed changes in the grandchildren over those days. That they were more reflective, quieter. That they had asked about me several times. The girl asked me if you would still be there when she came back, Teresa said, her voice soft. She said she was afraid you had left. That she wouldn't blame you if you had. That tore me apart. Despite everything, despite the disrespect and the pain, hearing that they cared, even a little, still affected me. I'm still here, I said on the phone. And I will keep being here. If they want a second chance. They do, Teresa replied. Believe me, Daniel. They do. After hanging up, I looked at Jennifer. She was watching me with that expression I knew well, that mix of love, gratitude, and hope. Do you think they've really changed? She asked. There's only one way to find out. I took a deep breath. But this time, it will be different. They come back, but with clear rules. And if they break these rules, they go away again. No exceptions. Jennifer nodded. And in that moment, sitting in that silent living room, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this broken family could be repaired. The meeting was scheduled for Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. Jennifer, the kids, Teresa, the grandmother, and I would be there. Robert would also be present, as we had agreed. I spent the entire week preparing what I was going to say, rehearsing in the mirror, trying to find the balance between firmness and compassion. But when the day came, and I saw the two teenagers walk through the door with red eyes from crying, all the speech I had prepared evaporated. They looked smaller, more fragile. The 17-year-old boy, who always had that arrogant posture, had his shoulders slumped, hands stuffed in his pockets. The 15-year-old girl held her grandmother's hand, biting her lower lip like she did as a child when she was nervous. We sat in the living room. Jennifer on my right, the kids on the couch with Teresa, Robert in a chair beside them. The silence was suffocating. No one knew how to begin. It was the boy who spoke first. "I want to apologize." His voice trembled. "For what I said. For everything I did. I was an idiot." He looked at me for the first time in a week, and I saw tears streaming down his face. That boy who challenged me, who spat venom, was now completely broken. "I didn't realize how much you did for us. I thought it was your obligation, you know? Because you married my mom. But it's not. You chose to take care of us, and I threw that in your face." He wiped his tears with the back of his hand. "When I stayed at my dad's house with nothing, I realized how much you were always there. Always." The girl began to cry as well, hiding her face on her grandmother's shoulder. Teresa stroked her hair, her own eyes brimming with tears. "I want to apologize too," the girl said between sobs. "I said I hated you. But I don't hate you. I never hated you. I was just confused. Dad always said you were trying to replace him, and I believed him. But you never tried to replace anyone, right?" My throat was tight. I couldn't speak. All the anger, all the hurt, everything I had held for 3 years was trying to come out at once, and I didn't know if I would break into tears or screams. "You always respected our dad," the boy continued. "Never spoke badly about him, even when he spoke badly about you. You went to our school performances, helped with homework, took us everywhere. And what did we do? We treated you like you were nothing." "I'm scared," the girl whispered. "Scared that you gave up on us. That you don't want to be our stepdad anymore." That was what broke me. That word, stepdad. It was the first time either of them acknowledged my position in their lives. Not as a stranger. Not as mom's husband. But as their stepdad. "I never gave up on you," my voice came out hoarse. "Even when I should have, I didn't. Because I love your mom. And because, whether you like it or not, I care about you." Jennifer took my hand, squeezing it tightly. "But you need to understand one thing," I continued, finding my voice. "I cannot continue being treated like a doormat. I cannot continue giving everything and not receiving even a minimum of respect in return. So if you come back home, things will be different." "We accept," the boy said quickly. "Anything. We accept." "Wait." I raised my hand. "You don't even know the conditions yet." I picked up a sheet of paper I had prepared. Jennifer and I had spent hours writing this together, reviewing each point, making sure it was fair but firm. First, respect. For me, your mother, everyone in the house. No yelling, no insults, no disrespect. If you have a problem, we talk like civilized people. Both nodded. Second, responsibilities. You will help with household chores. Wash dishes, clean your rooms, take out the trash. Nothing absurd, just the basics any teenager should do. More nods. Third, gratitude. I'm not asking you to thank me every day for everything. But I want you to understand that the things you have are not guaranteed. They are privileges that come with responsibility. The boy wiped more tears. The girl was looking at me with an intensity one had never seen in her before. Fourth, your dad. I looked at Robert, who was watching silently. Your dad will be more present now. He will pay more child support, visit more, and you will respect him too. But that doesn't change the fact that when you're in this house, my rules apply. We understand, the girl said. We promise it will be different. Promises are easy, I said, harder than I intended. But actions are what matter. So you will have a trial week. 1 week to prove you've truly changed. If at any time you break these rules, you will go back to Grandma Teresa's house. No discussion. Teresa spoke for the first time, and with me, the rules are the same. So you better take this seriously. Robert then stood, walking to stand in front of his children. He knelt down to their eye level. I messed everything up, he said, his voice choked. I turned you against a good man because I was angry, because I was too proud to admit he's a better father to you than I ever was. And for that, I almost destroyed our family. Dad, the boy started. No, let me speak. Robert took a deep breath. Daniel isn't trying to replace me. He's doing what I should be doing. And instead of being grateful for it, I was a coward. So I will change too. I'll be more present. I'll pay what I owe. And I will respect Daniel because he deserves respect. Robert turned to me, still kneeling. I'm sorry, man. Truly. I was an idiot to you for 3 years. You didn't deserve any of that. I didn't know what to say. I never imagined Robert would apologize, let alone kneel in front of me. I reached out my hand, and he gripped it firmly. We start over, I said. All of us. The kids got up from the couch and came to me. The boy hugged me first, holding tight, his body shaking with sobs. Then the girl, who buried her face in my chest and cried like she hadn't since she was a child. I'm sorry, she kept repeating. I'm sorry. I know, I whispered, holding both of them. I know. Jennifer joined the hug, and for the first time, we felt like a real family. Not a perfect family, not a family without problems, but a family willing to work, to change, to grow. When we pulled away, Teresa was crying too, smiling through her tears. She came up and hugged me tightly. Thank you, she said in my ear. Thank you for not giving up on them. For not giving up on my daughter. I would never give up, I replied. That night, when the kids returned home, they helped prepare dinner without being asked. The boy set the table. The girl washed the dishes afterward. Both said goodnight before going to their rooms, and for the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel that weight in my chest when entering my own home. Jennifer and I stayed up late, talking about everything. About the mistakes we made, about how we could have avoided reaching that point, about the future. Do you think it will work? She asked, her head on my shoulder. I think we have a chance now. A real chance. I kissed the top of her head. And that's all I ever wanted. Outside, I heard a door open. The boy came out of his room and went to the kitchen. I was about to get up to see what he was doing, but Jennifer held me back. Let him, she whispered. Minutes later, he returned. But before closing his bedroom door, he stopped, looked toward our living room, and quietly said, "Good night, Daniel. And thank you. For everything." I closed my eyes, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time, peace. 3 months had passed since that meeting that changed everything. And if someone asked me if it was easy, I'd say no. Real change is never easy. But it was possible, and that was all that mattered. The first week was the hardest. The kids were walking on eggshells, afraid to make any mistakes. The boy called me sir in every sentence, until I told him to relax. The girl asked if everything was okay before doing anything, as if she expected me to explode at any moment. But gradually, the tension eased. They realized I wasn't a tyrant waiting to punish them. I was just someone who wanted respect, the same way I gave respect to them. There was a moment in the second week that marked me deeply. I came home from work and found the boy helping his sister with math at the kitchen table. When they saw me, he didn't roll his eyes. She didn't hide her phone as if she was doing something wrong. Instead, both of them smiled. "How was work?" the girl asked, and that simple question, that basic display of interest, completely caught me off guard. "It was good," I replied, still processing. "And you? How was school?" And then we talked. For real. Not the forced high, by conversation we used to have. They told me about classes, friends, a boring history teacher. And I listened, really listened, for the first time feeling that they actually wanted to share these things with me. Jennifer arrived an hour later and found the three of us laughing in the kitchen over some silly story the boy was telling. She paused at the door, eyes misty, and I knew exactly what she was thinking. We finally seemed like a family. Robert also kept his word. He increased child support to $1,200, paying on time every month. He started visiting the kids every week, not just once a month. And most importantly, he stopped poisoning their relationship with me. During one of those visits, something extraordinary happened. Robert called me asking to talk, just the two of us. We met at a cafe near my house. I was nervous, not knowing what to expect. I wanted to thank you, he said as soon as we sat down. Thank me for saving my kids from myself. He stirred his coffee, avoiding eye contact. I was raising two selfish, spoiled people who didn't respect anyone. And I was proud of it in some twisted way, because I thought I was protecting them from you. Robert. No, let me finish. He finally looked at me. They are better people now. More responsible, more grateful, Kinder. And that's because of you. You did in 3 months what I couldn't do in 17 years. They always had it in them. They just needed boundaries. Boundaries you set. Boundaries I sabotaged. He sighed. I just wanted you to know I'm grateful. Truly. That conversation changed something between us. We didn't become best friends, but we developed mutual respect. We began coordinating better regarding the kids. He consulted me before making plans with them. I kept him informed about school progress. For the first time, we became functional co-parents. Jennifer's family also came to apologize, one by one. Teresa was first, of course. She had seen the change in the kids from the start and acknowledged that I was right. Michelle, Jennifer's sister, took longer. She came to our house on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, eyes red. I misjudged you, she said before even entering. I thought you were being cruel. But you were being a dad. A real dad. The most emotional moment, however, happened on Jennifer's birthday, 2.5 months after that family meeting. We organized a small party at home, just close family. The kids had insisted on helping with everything. When it was time for the cake, the boy asked for everyone's attention. He was nervous, hands shaking slightly as he held a folded piece of paper. I wrote something, he began, his voice trembling. For Mom and for Daniel. Jennifer held my hand tightly. Mom, I'm sorry for being so difficult all these years. Sorry for not valuing your sacrifice, your work, your love. You deserved better, kids, and I promise I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be the child you deserve. He took a deep breath, wiping a tear. And Daniel. I don't know what to call you. Stepdad sounds so formal. But Dad feels weird too, because I already have a dad. He looked directly at me. So I'll just call you Daniel. But I want you to know that you are more of a dad to me than a lot of people who have the title. You taught me what it means to be a real man. Not with words, but with actions. I wasn't prepared for that. Absolutely nothing could have prepared me to hear those words from the boy who, 3 months ago, told me he would never obey me. You could have walked away, he continued. Could have given up on us. But you didn't. And I will never forget that. Never. The girl then approached, holding an envelope. We made this for you, she said, handing it to me. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a handmade card, with drawings of the 4 of us, all those slightly crooked things kids make that are perfect just for that reason. And inside, a message written by both. To Daniel, our silent hero. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for loving us even when we didn't deserve it. Thank you for teaching us that family isn't about blood, it's about choice. And we chose you. Forever. I cried. I didn't care that everyone was watching. I cried like I hadn't in years, holding that card to my chest, feeling Jennifer hug one side of me and the kids hug the other. Looking back now to that day when everything exploded, I realize it was the best and worst day of my life. It was the day I lost the illusion of a perfect family, but gained the opportunity to build a real family. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love, it's neglect. I learned that respect isn't something you earn by being nice, but by being consistent. I learned that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is say no and stand your ground, even when it hurts. The kids learned that actions have consequences. That privileges need to be earned. That respect is a two-way street. And most importantly, they learned that a true family isn't defined by DNA, but by who shows up, who stays, who cares. Jennifer learned that protecting her kids doesn't mean shielding them from consequences, but preparing them to face the world with character and resilience. She became a stronger, firmer, more confident mother. And Robert? Robert learned that being a father isn't about showing up occasionally and being the nice guy. It's about being present, setting boundaries, teaching by example. Today, when I come home, I'm greeted with genuine hugs. The house still gets messy sometimes. There are still normal arguments and challenges of raising teenagers. But there is respect. There is love. There is family. If you've made it this far in this story, I hope you take a lesson with you. Never accept being treated as less than your worth. Not by your children, not by your stepchildren, not by anyone. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's love. It's teaching the people around you that you deserve respect, and in doing so, you teach them to respect themselves too. And for those in similar situations, don't give up. But also don't accept less than you deserve. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is plant your foot and say, enough. Because in the end, a true family isn't about who made you, it's about who chooses to stay. And I chose to stay. And they chose to let me stay. And that makes all the difference. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Your story can also have a happy ending. You just need the courage to make the hard choices.